Good evening, everyone. Hope you're having a fantastic week, as always. And as always, if someone could let me know that the audio sounds good, that the music's not too loud, that the mic's not too quiet, that would be fantastic because my setup gives me trust issues. And if you missed it in chat, before the stream started, I said that I've got a bad feeling about tonight. I have proven today that I'm unworthy of computering. On an analysis host, I filled a disk. I was doing some analysis on a bunch of data, and I knew that Slash was running out of room, but I didn't expect it to actually run out of room. And when it ran out of room, some really important file system went read-only. Not a production host. It didn't upset anyone but me, and it upset me because it means that after this stream, it was about 5:15 that I filled this disk. After this stream, I have the joyous task of logging back on and resetting up a bunch of stuff and re-ingesting a bunch of data and re-summarizing a bunch of data so that my team and I can continue our analysis tomorrow. So I've already proven that either I suck or computers hate me or both, and not as bad a day as GitLab. I saw there was an incident report. I didn't look too far into it. I skimmed the incident report and said, wow, sounds like they had a bad day. But no, Jeff, you're right. Silver lining. My day wasn't as bad as GitLab's. But my day is also not over yet, and I'm streaming, so there's so much that could go wrong, and I'm kind of curious to see what it's going to be. But anyway, what I thought we would do tonight, actually, who was it? I think it was Hari. I'm not sure if Hari actually tunes in live, or if Hari watches on YouTube. Wait, was it Hari? I should check before I go and blame someone. 1 second. Yes, it was Hari. I'm going to dob Hari in here. Hari reached out to me and said that he would love it if I did some Java deserialization stuff. And I said, that is a fantastic idea. Let me just check that. Yep, I'm recording. It's good. I said, that'd be a good idea. I would really like to talk about deserialization in general. Because in the few... Yeah, Multi can see Mohawk indeed. Who have we got here? Welcome everyone, if I didn't see before. Mongo, hey Mongo, good to have you around, dude. Thanks for being here. Hari said do Java deserialization. I'd love to do deserialization because in the few conversations I've had with people about deserialization bugs, there's quite a bit of either it's misinformation or just a lot of disagreement. I've got some feelings about what about deserialization is a problem, and we'll kind of cover them as we kind of get into the meat of what deserialization is and how it can be exploited. Good to have you around, Demon. I only know one thing about PHP. PHP is hard to make safe indeed. But we're using PHP tonight for a couple of reasons. First of all, it's probably the language I've got the most experience with deserialization in. I've also done deserialization bugs in Ruby on Rails. I haven't personally done Java deserialization. I know there's a lot of basically press button, get bacon stuff in Java land right now. For example, Jenkins, I think WebSphere, and a couple of others. There's like end-to-end exploits that are out there that you just basically, I think, point Metasploit at stuff and get shells. There's also the, what's it called? The name escapes me. The Java pop chain generator. The name totally escapes me. Java pop chain generator. Someone help me out. What's the Java thing? Java deserialization. Exploit. What's it called? YSO serial. Thank you, Multiplexer. YSO serial. YSO serial exists to generate what's called pop chains. We'll go through what a pop chain is later on. So there's a whole bunch of Java stuff that just works, but if I'm going to kind of go through deserialization, I wanted to do a better job of it than just pointing off-the-shelf tools at stuff. To be honest, that's probably what, especially if you're a pen tester, your experience with deserialization bugs is going to be pointing tools and getting shells. But for those who are curious about the actual innards of deserialization, I thought actually exploring the phenomenon would be interesting, and actually doing some of the attack manually would be interesting. Although we saw how doing some of the attack manually went last week with hash padding when I kind of got to the end of the night and went table flip using off the shelf tool. We'll see how we go. So I've got no real plan apart from the fact that in a past life I solved a CTF challenge called K-pop. Where is my link to it? Super organized tonight. I am just everything within arm's reach. I think it was from Plaid CTF. If you haven't noticed, in the description there's a little kind of blurb about tonight. There's a K-pop is actually a link, but it may be hard to see in your browser, but it points to here. This is a CTF challenge. It's a PHP deserialization from memory. It's a PHP deserialization challenge. As part of Plaid CTF 2014, which I solved back in 2014 and haven't touched since, but I have done it before, so we should be able to fumble our way back through it. And as we go through it, we'll kind of take the opportunity to take a step back and say, hey, what are we seeing here? And how is this instance of a deserialization bug exploitable? And how is deserialization exploitable in general? Hopefully you'll understand the concept, because the concepts apply irrespectively of language. They're language independent. Deserialization is not just a Java problem. It's a problem in any language that supports serialization and deserialization of objects, where a developer has allowed an untrusted entity, such as a user or a remote attacker, to supply the data that will be deserialized. One thing I always wanted to see was, how did Heartbleed work? Has anyone really been so far as to blah blah blah? How's it going, Indigo Gamer? Demon, how did Heartbleed work? There's an XKCD that explains it. XKCD Heartbleed. This is probably the best explanation for Heartbleed that I've ever seen. It's to do with the bug was that the Heartbleed bug was to do with the heartbeat feature of SSL/TLS. I think it was supported in TLS as well. It's kind of like the heartbeat function of SSL is kind of similar to ping. What would happen was the requesting end would say, hey ping, are you there? If you're there, I want you to reply with the string potato, which is 6 letters long. And the server would think the user Meg wants to hear this back, these 6 letters, potato. And it would then get those 6 letters and send them back and say potato. And then Meg would say, hey, you're still there? If so, reply bird, which is 4 letters long. And then the server would think, Meg wants to hear the word bird, it's 4 letters long. It would get the 4 letters and send it back. And then Meg thought, are you still there? If so, reply hat, which is 500 letters long, just so you know. The server would load the string hat into memory, and then from the beginning of the string, hat would then read 500 characters forward, 500 bytes forward, and leak all the data out of memory that was in that area. All that data that was in that area of memory, and Meg would take note of it. That's how Heartbeat worked. Heartbleed. The heartbeat function allowed the requester of a Pong to specify the data that they wanted to hear in reply to the heartbeat request, as well as, for convenience sake, tell the server how long it is. And then the server would it would basically put the user's requested string in memory and would trust the requester's length value, and would then allow the requester to ask for more stuff out of the server's memory than it had put in there. That's how Heartbleed worked. It was a big bug indeed. Yeah, you could, in some cases, use it to leak keys from memory, and the way that Heartbleed was kind of dropped was, hey, it's a memory leak that gives you keys in some circumstances, and what was kind of then found out was, why would we care about keys, which will let us do a man in the middle? Like, that's kind of cool, but the other stuff that's in the memory space of the server is data from previous requests and maybe responses, including things like the passwords that people were posting to the web server to log into accounts. And so if you heartbled a server, you could get people's passwords that they had been posting to the service. That ended up kind of, in my opinion, being the real impact. Keys are good, but people's passwords, people's data and URLs that people were requesting could stand to be much more interesting. So that was how Heartbleed worked. And we're off to a rolling start with the getting off topic. Deserialization. Okay, so what I did the other night was I actually pulled down this source here. Well, I did pull it down, but then what I did was built a Docker Compose thing. I don't know what, I mean, it's not a container, a series of containers. Twitch, K-pop. So as you know, I'm a big fan of Docker, except for when it betrays me, and I've got a feeling Docker Compose is going to betray me tonight. What you can do is you can, Docker Compose is something that basically wraps Docker and lets you kind of define multiple containers that you want started at once in its own little kind of bundle. And you can use it to bundle containers together. So what you do is I wrote a YAML file which said that I want 2 containers to be spun up, DB and Kpop. And you can say that for the DB container, I want you to go and build the image in the directory called DB. For the Kpop container, I want you to go and build the image in the Kpop directory. As you can see here, I've got a directory DB and a directory Kpop, and inside each of those, I've got Docker files. So what Docker Compose will do is it will go and build these 2 images. Ignore the network mode, that's something I need to do because my networking is a bit funky right now. And it also lets you kind of specify that, hey, in the environment of the database, I want these environment variables declared, which we'll see in a second. If you go and look at the DB Docker file, the DB Docker file is built from the MySQL 5.7 image. If we go Docker MySQL, have a look on Docker Hub. Then we can see some, I mean, I'm going to get way off into the weeds. I'm going to go through this as quickly as possible. I'm just pulling down the MySQL Docker image to use as the database for this application. If you scroll down, you can see that it allows specification of some environment variables to control how the image starts up. And in our case, what I'm doing is I'm setting a user to create within the MySQL database system, the password for that user, and these are just the username and password that the source code for the application used, and I just kind of went and duplicated it there, and just randomized the root password to make MySQL happy. That's really all there is to the database one. It goes and does that. But if we go and also, actually no, that's not enough. If we look at the Docker file for the MySQL, for the DB container, we can see that I just went and I installed Git, because what I then did was Git cloned the challenge, the entire repo for Plaid CTF 2014 into /temp. I then went and copied the db.sql file, this one here, which just specifies drop a table, create a table called lyrics, blah 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 blah. And I went and copied that file there into /doc entry point initdb.d, which if we were to go back and scroll through this documentation for the MySQL image, we would see that the MySQL image will run every single SQL or shell script file in this directory upon first start. And so this is my way of getting the initial database schema and state all set up. Then I just go and blow away that Git cloned rubbish. And this ensures that when the database container starts for the first time, it will rehydrate the basic structure that the database needs for the application to function. And there's our database. Yes, Menstrual, I did promise a couple of weeks ago that I'd be uploading my Metasploit Framework Docker file to my GitHub repo. I've been super slack because I kind of want to fix a few things in there before I upload it. I was thinking I'd do the same thing for this and upload this, but Menstrual, I will send you a copy as is. That's not a problem. Just hit me up and remind me. Daemon, yes, probably back in the day that Heartbleed was around, yeah, you probably could have been hoovering up the TLS sessions forever, and then as soon as you stole the server's private key, could have decrypted them all en masse. These days, many servers are configured to do perfect forward secrecy, which ensures that even if the server's key gets leaked, all of the previous communications are not at risk of decryption. So these days, server keys are even less interesting. They tend to not let you decrypt old communications. They just let you impersonate the server if you've got active man in the middle. What have I missed? Can you... Null. Are we going to get that every week now, Null? Really? Minstrel, I got you, fam. Daemon, I sometimes do. In fact, I use Windows to run IDA. So I do use Windows from time to time. So that's the database setup. Hopefully that makes sense. And then we build the actual Kpop application node, which links to the database node for providing its database needful. So if we edit kpop/dockerfile, this Docker image is based on the PHP Apache image. I go and get Tmux and Vim because I'm going to be... actually, I don't need lbzip2 anymore. That was from when I was unzipping stuff. You don't need that. These are because I plan to actually shell the application server later on and do some debugging by hacking the PHP files. We go and install Git so that we can do a Git clone down here to then copy all of Kpop into HTML Kpop. We also need to install the MySQLi extension for PHP so that PHP can talk to MySQL. And then this is where I plan to do a little bit more later on. This is where we patch the application source code so that at least it works. We'll be doing further patching and hacky patching to better understand the application's logic manually. But as far as getting the container up in a sane state so that it works, this is where we can patch things like actually setting up the database hostname inside this file. Hopefully all that makes sense. It's a huge digression. It's not really that important, but it looks like Minstrel needed to know about it, and it will help him with his CTFing. And what it means is that once we've got this YAML file, I just do a really quick cheeky rm-f to go and remove all the Docker composed machines so that all the volumes and stuff and all the previous database contents, because when you Docker compose stuff, your database is going to stick around, which I kind of didn't want for this challenge. So cheeky little RM to go and blow away the old stuff, and then we do a docker compose up --build. The --build just means, hey, if the Docker files have changed, go and rebuild the images. I want you to go and keep it all as fresh as possible, and go, and we get asked for sudo password. And this will bring up those two containers, the database container and the application container. And there we go, up and running. What we can also do is do a docker compose ps inside the directory with the YAML file in it, because docker compose it all sticks together in its own little spheres. You've got to be inside a directory with the docker compose.yaml file for this to work, I think. We can see we've got two Docker containers up and running. We've got the DB container and the application container. We can then do sudo docker, group docker inspect, the name of the application container, grep for IP. There we go. There's the IP address of the container, because I'm not doing... I should be doing the kind of whole Docker publish the ports to the outside world thing, but I kind of don't want people on my LAN looking at the CTF anyway, so I'm just going to go and hit the inside address directly. And then in our burped browser... Is this the burped browser? This is the burped browser. We go and browse to that, and we get... This is what I expect to see. That's good. If we go and browse to /kpop... There we go. We've got a copy of the vulnerable application up and running. Easy peasy. What have I missed? Checking them alive, thanks. Yeah, do the old shoe on head thing, hey? Mongo, it's because you're too busy teaching me how to IDA. I know I've got nothing to teach you. No, it hasn't happened. I haven't gone into that whole thing yet, CCPPTT. In due course, I will let people know. Not happening. Not happening. Yeah, it's the same on my luggage too, multi. Alrighty. Now I've actually got to do hacking stuff. Okay, so here's the application. We'll have a quick browse through the application. This is a site where you can upload and share your K-pop lyrics with your friends. Some of the Plague's favourite songs are already in here. Click here to see them, and we get errors. But I wanted to actually fix this error live because I think this is a cool error. So we get these PHP errors all throughout the page. Now, so all I've done is basically grab a copy of the source code of the vulnerable application and run it, and it's CTF quality code, as we're kind of used to seeing. There's no surprise that there is PHP warnings going on. This one we'll get to in a second, but this one here cannot modify header information. Header's already sent by output started at blah in blah online blah. Alrighty. Let's go and have a look at the code and see what's going on, see if we can get rid of this error, or this warning, sorry. Alrighty, actually that's not the copy of the source code that I want. That's a different copy, because I found a different copy somewhere else, but ended up not going with it. Cat K-pop / K-pop. Oh no, only one of them. Doc file. Let's go and git clone this bad boy. Not to temp. It's not where I wanted it at all. Thank you, Menstrual. I was getting there. Menstrual. Goddamn spoilers. People wanting to... God. Breathe. It's good. We're good. Yes, Menstrual's correct. I needed to add an OB start. So let's go and move plaid CTF / web / K-pop to K-pop source and get rid of plaid CTF because we don't need it anymore. K-pop source. Alrighty, so let's have a look and see what's going on. Header's already sent by output started at blah. So output started in songs on line 16. So it looks like this code here started basically printing output from the PHP preprocessor, ready for the web browser to get as part of the response body. Of course, the response body, going to burp, is all this stuff down here. But in classes.php on line 109, this warning was being thrown. So if we go and edit classes.php, line 109, we can see a set cookie. And when we went to this songs page, we didn't get any cookies being set in the headers. So what's happened is the application developer has relied on PHP's output being buffered, right? Whereas some PHPs have unbuffered output, probably for performance reasons, meaning as soon as this PHP code executed and some echoing got done, I suppose, or maybe this here caused some printing of output to the page, perhaps. When that happened, PHP started basically building this body already. Or maybe it's even just the HTML that caused it, maybe. So PHP started producing all this content here. And then PHP brushed up against this set cookie line, and of course when cookies get set, a HTTP header needs to be created for the setting of the cookie. But PHP went, ooh, I've already started building the body. And you want me to go back and put stuff up here? It's too late. I'm already building this down here. I'm not going to backtrack, which is why that you cannot modify header information when headers were already sent by some other stuff causing this to be sent. That's what that means. And as Menstrual pointed out, you can use OB start. Let's actually go and look up what that means. PP OB start. Is it pick on Justin night? It's every night. Turn on output buffering, which is to say to PHP, hey, hold your horses, don't get too excited. Let's get all of our shit together before you start. Let's get all of our shit together and put it in a buffer before we then flush the buffer and actually send it to the client. So as long as we do OB start early on, then we will have output buffering on, and then PHP won't get too carried away before it needs to do stuff like set cookie. So if we have a look, head and look at like the first two lines of every PHP file, We can see that in all of them, data.php is being pulled in. Classes doesn't pull in data.php, but data pulls in classes. Okay, so data pulls in classes, export pulls in data. I reckon if we go and add ob start to the top of classes.php, it will mean that it happens very early on in every single page that could be possibly loaded. It's super hacky. The other way to fix this would be to go and actually edit the PHP config to say, hey, our own server instance of PHP needs to be unbuffered, or sorry, needs to be buffered. But this application requires output buffering, so probably the best place to do it is inside the application to declare early on in the application's logic, turn on output buffering because we do stuff in the wrong order as part of this application. That sounds fair to me. So what we probably want to do is go and add to the start of classes.php underneath this question mark PHP line, ob start. Can we do this using sed? Can we do this using sed? Because if we go back to the source code, what did I just showed Burp? That's not a problem. It's like, oh god, it starts. I'm already showing stuff on stream. cd kpop vim kpop / dockerfile. If we just go and if we can think of a sed to do here, then this sed will happen during the creation of the actual image, which means that the code will be patched every single time we start her up, which to me seems like the right place to go and patch this in there. So how do we do a sed command to go and shim this in on the second line of the file? That's an open question, by the way. If someone has a really cute way of doing it, I am all ears, because I love cute solutions. Shell script change second line of file. Oh, rip, really? Am I having internet issues, am I? Yep. Yeah, if we can get a straw poll, who's having connection issues? Because I can see my pings are a bit all over the place tonight. That may just be because I'm shoveling data out. I've never actually checked my pings while streaming. Hello, Feisty Noodle. Good to have you around. All good? Okay, let me know if things go sideways again. Cute ping pattern. Volko, I think 8.8.8.8 isn't 8.8.8 anycasted? I thought it was geographically dispersed. His face is cuter. Don't know who you were talking about there, but I'm going to take it. I'm going to assume it's me. Occasional freeze, okay. Yeah, so Volko 8.8.8.8 is geographically dispersed. Yeah. Righto, let's soldier on. I don't Endaemon. I actually use my ISPs personally. I don't use Google's. Got a beard, it must be me. Alrighty, let's just soldier on. Let me know if things go sideways. How am I going to patch this into head-n3 of... I think we said I was going to do it inside classes, didn't I? I think data picks up classes and everything else picks up data. Yeah, so I'll put it in classes. Should we just use awk? We could just append the file with bracket question php ob start that. We could just go and put that in at the very beginning of the file. How do you prepend to a file using a shell script? I know there's a lot of ways to do it. I'm just trying to think of the cleanest. That's not clean. Ed. Awesome. I don't want to use temp files. This might be the way to go. Let's just go and copy classes to doot.php. Oop. I love that I was going to do PHP deserialization tonight. We're taking, we're venturing out into the world of shell golf. Let's see what's shell compatible. I'm going to echo foo cat doot.php to temp new file and move temp new file to doot.php. Now, never ever do this. Slash temp is a filthy wasteland full of horrible things that want to put symlinks there so that you end up then writing files to somewhere that you didn't mean to write them, such as inside your //.ssh. Don't ever trust slash temp. In this case, I'm very comfortable trusting slash temp because I know that this Docker machine, I'm the only one on it, and if it got hosed, then it's of no high value to me. And this is going to be a solution that goes into a Docker file, which is a single user build process. So there can't be anything nasty going on during a Docker build. So that's why I'm going to use this horrible solution of trusting slash temp. But in general, don't trust slash temp. It is a place where a symlink will hurt you. And apparently SH didn't like that. I'm thinking these might be bashisms or something. Round bracket? That looks better. Head and for doot.php. Yes, so that went and appended foo, which is actually not what I wanted. Copy classes to doot.php. Let's try this again. PHP, ob start. All this nonsense here. Head and for doot.php. There we go. That's a shell one-line trick to that trust slash temp, which you shouldn't do, to go and prepend our file with this. Let's go and put that into our patches. I need to fix the path to doot. It's actually the classes file. So we're going to sed, we're going to swap out the local host for the DB value. This is just to fix the database host name. This here is to enable ob start for output buffering. We're going to echo that, then cat that, that's fine, to temp new file, then move. Where'd my temp new file go? Move temp new file to that. Alrighty, let's see if this builds. Will it blend? This should fix our PHP warnings, at least some of them. There we go. Some of the warnings disappeared. And we probably got a cookie. Yeah, now we get cookies. Alright, that's fixed part of the problem. Now, warning. File put contents var SQLi unserial /logs /song views failed to open stream. No such file or directory. Cool. I don't, even having done this challenge, know why it's trying to put stuff here. I think this might be a red herring, because they actually gave the source code for this application out during the CTF. So you actually got all the PHP source code. And maybe this was there to act as a red herring. I don't know why they have SQLi here. It is not a SQL injection challenge. It is an unserial challenge. So we should probably go create this directory and make sure PHP can write to this, this file. To do so, I am going to, what am I going to do? Kpop. I'm going to throw the privacy screen up for 1 second while I dig through my bash history to find something. There we go. Sudo Yep, okay, cool. This is what I'm looking for. So what we're going to do is inside this Kpop directory where there's that docker compose.yaml file, we're going to do docker compose exec inside the application container. The env command to set our environment and variable for term to xterm. Then we're going to do script -qc blah blah blah. This here is a trick to be able to use tmux in a exec container. You shouldn't have to do this, I think, when the next version of Docker comes out. This is a bug that got fixed, but for now this is the workaround just so we can run tmux. We're going to do this, and this should let us pop shell in the application container. Cool. ps-ef. So Apache is running as www.data, which is probably the user that will be writing to this file here. So what we should do is make directory. This path here, -p, so we can make the full cascading all the way down, and then chown that across to www.data, and now this warning should go away. Hey, there we go, the warning's gone. So we need to go and put this into our Docker file and rebuild. And we're almost there, we can hopefully start hacking soon. Create a writable by www.data because the code wants it. And then we need to chown it. Make directory -p blah 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 blah. Yep, that should do it. Alright, now we rebuild. And hopefully we've got no warnings. I thought that was going to be a fun little exercise to do on stream. I'm probably going to be best off down here tonight because I've got a browser up here. Sorry, by the way, if that was annoying you as to what was behind my stupid face. Hey, no warnings. Alright, so we've got a working challenge. We should probably explore the application a bit further. Let's get burp up and visible. There's a whole bunch of safe browsing nonsense. Let's go and add this to the scope. Actually, can we just do engagement tools? Add to scope. And show only the in-scope items. Oop. Yeah, it's a bit better. Alright, so we should browse this application. So back at the root of Kpop, all we really got was one link. Head over here to see the lyrics of some of the Plague's favourite songs. Your songs should be listed below. In order to avoid claims of copyright infringement, your songs are stored locally. If you like to import songs, go here. If you want to add your own song, go here. If you want to export your songs, go here. Currently, you can't delete songs. If we have a look at these two links, then we've got song.php, name is bubblepop, blah, 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 blah. Cool. And here is some different lyrics for a song called G. Righto. So these looks like they probably came with the application. If you want to add your own song, go here. Want to add a song, just put it in below. Song name. This is a song name. Group. This is a group. This is a URL. These are some lyrics. I'm not singing for you, Jim. Welcome, Jim. Good to have you around. Yeah, Tremod the 7, the lucky 777. Where are we? ISP is, DNS is a DNS leak. Yeah, sure. Even if you use Google, your ISP, if they really want to, could still log your queries. I mean, the UDP packets are flowing through your ISP, so there's nothing stopping them from logging them as they fly past. But as well as that, Google can log them. So the idea that behind me using my ISP's DNS is it's like, well, what's worse? My ISP easily being able to log, or my ISP being able to log and Google being able to easily log because they get the query. That was part of it. Yeah, using 8.8.8.8 doesn't stop your ISP from logging your DNS requests. Alright, Demon, good to have you around. Catch you next time, hey? Make a pull request, wait, then pull it down. Yeah, that probably would have been easier, Mongo. I chose to put it in the code because it feels like it's an assertion that the code should be making so that it works everywhere. I'll pay you to teach me, please. Lachlan, there's not much of a process. In fact, if you read down below, I've got some rants about people who ask how to learn to hack. Honestly, the best thing to do would be to stick around and kind of talk to some people and not ask to be taught, but just learn from what you see around you. Research and investigate the technologies that excite you. If you like web apps, research web app security, read some books, do some bug bounties, and actually play with web security. Watch other people who do web security. Read their write-ups and watch them do what they do and how they do it, rather than asking to kind of be told how they did it. I think you're better off learning the right way rather than the easy way, because yeah, there's no 5 quick tips on how to do it. You've just got to do the hard work, and the sooner you start the hard work by actually playing with the technologies that excite you and by reading about people's stuff rather than asking them how they did it, the better, I think. Alright, bye, Lachlan. Yeah, VPNs are nice that way, but then the VPN endpoint can log all your stuff. And to be honest, if I was curious about what people were doing on the internet, I would operate a VPN service and just log all the things. So, yeah, it's tricky. Really, all you're doing is, when you change your DNS resolver or use a VPN, you're just moving trust around the plate. Doesn't necessarily, I don't know. Let's not get into the whole VPN rant. Let's add a song. This is going to be what we're doing, and we're going to send this off. Submit. And we get this. This looks kind of weird. I'm not sure if that was there on the day of the challenge. It may be some debug code that got put in by Plaid CTF before they published it. I'm not too sure, because I don't recall seeing that. But anyway, we've got some debug code going on. Your songs has been added. Go back to the songs page to see it. You need to start our own ISP, exactly. So we did a post. We posted the name of a song, a group, a URL, and some lyrics. And we sent our own cookie, which was this, up to the server. And this is what we got back. Debug info. And we got, I think, a new cookie. Let's go and send this to Comparer. And this to Comparer. Yeah, the cookie's a bit longer. And the cookie's changed. Right. By the way, I know where this is going, which is why I'm pointing out the fact that the cookie's changed. So if we go back to the songs page, then we can see this is a song name. We click on it. Your song should be below. This is a song name. By this is a group. These are some lyrics. Cool. So what was in this cookie that we got back? Let's send it to decoder. And then decode that as base 64. We got this. Actually, that's not what I was expecting to see. We're probably going to have to just read the code and actually find out what's going on. Where's the... I've gone and cranked my screen resolution down and all my buttons have disappeared. Okay, that's actually kind of interesting. Anyway. Okay, actually, I know what's going on there. Cool. Alright, so this is that's how we add a song. If we go back, if we go to import, we go to text box for importing data. We go to export, we go here. The text below are your exported songs. Just have your friend copy paste said text into the import page. What if we copy this and look at this in the decoder? Or is that the same thing? Okay, cool. I0, I1, I1, I2, I2, I8. Okay, right on. So now if we open this in an incognito window, and go back to K-pop. If we go to the songs, then we can't see the song we just added, right? Because the cookie that this incognito window has doesn't have, you know, the ability to show this song here. But if we go to export and copy this and paste it into the import, your songs have been imported. Go back to the songs page to see them. There we go, Bubble Pop G, this is a song name. Alright, so we've just imported the ability to see this is a song name. But importantly, the lyrics aren't actually stored in the cookie. It looks like there's just maybe a whole bunch of identifiers in the cookie to say which song IDs you have the ability to view. So I suppose you could probably go and fiddle with these numbers here and get access to lyrics that other people have stored. Basically an indirect, insecure direct object reference, but that's not really, I think, what we're looking for. We're looking for code exec. I know it's possible to shell this, so let's shell it. So let's go have a look at this import page, because that import functionality smelled kind of interesting. You know, when you're pasting some base 64 encoded data, which has this sort of data in it, encoded as base 64 into a web page, and then stuff happens. That to me smells like a really interesting vector. So let's go and read the code for import.php. Go into K-pop source and look at import.php. Okay, so here's the form that we submit when we want to import data, right? It posts to import.php, and it has a single text field with the name data. This text box here has the name data. So now the PHP page itself has some PHP code at the top, which pulls in the data.php file. And I think data.php, going to edit data.php. Data.php pulls in classes.php, and then it connects to the database. So after this line, we have connected to the database, and we've pulled in the class declarations for this application. And then, if is set post data, which means if the user has performed a post request and the post body has a value for the key data, like, let's go and pull up our request, the post to import, here it is. Yep, so we did a post and it had some data. If it was a post with the data key set, if that value is set, then we go new perms is a empty array, $data equals unserialized, the base64 decoded version of the post value. And then for each field in the data variable as $D, if it's an integer, then go and append that integer to the new perms array, and then we call user add lyrics new perms. As soon as you see in any application the ability to control some data that's being deserialized, or as PHP calls it, unserialized, you should be very interested because it's often fun to play with. It's the same sort of thing that we saw with all the Java kerfuffle about all the Java deserialization bugs. Irregardless of language or technology, when you can deserialize data, you should look further into it. If you're developing applications, you should not let users provide arbitrary data that you will deserialize. It's asking for trouble. And that's a bit of a contentious thing between me and some friends. Some of my friends say, no, it should be okay to deserialize arbitrary data. It's the job of the framework and the language to make sure it's safe to do so if it's not doing it, blah, blah, blah. I disagree. You should just never deserialize user-supplied data. And we'll see why. We should probably go and read the PHP man page for unserialize. And actually, let's see if it yells at us. Let's go PHP unserialize. There we go. Big old warning. Do not pass untrusted user input regardless of the options value of allowed classes. Alrighty. So, reading through this. Unserialize creates a PHP value from a stored representation. It returns a mixed type value, takes one parameter, being a string called str, and then it takes an optional array of options. Unserialized takes a single serialized variable and converts it back into a PHP value. Warning, don't pass untrusted user input to unserialize, which is a pretty universal thing. Stuff like JSON decode and JSON encode is much safer to be throwing around and to be letting untrusted entities perform deserialization of using the JSON decode function. JSON doesn't allow for such flexible instantiation of objects as unserialized does. And when I say instantiation of objects and flexible, we're gonna explore what this lets us do, but we're gonna take it slowly. So the parameters to unserialize the string is the serialized string. If the variable being unserialized is an object, after successfully reconstructing the object, PHP will automatically attempt to call the wakeup member function for that object. Then it takes some optional options, but as we can see from this unserializing the code, there's no options, so we're not going to look too far into what these options means. The return value of unserialize is the converted value is returned. It could be a boolean, integer, float, string, array, or object. If the parse string is not unserializable, false is returned, and e-notice is issued. So, we should probably go and look at the PHP code for serialize. Actually, you know what we'll do? Let's quickly go and edit export.php. We include data and then $exported equals porter export data, user get lyrics, and then $exported is printed as part of the page. So we need to go ahead, I'm reckoning, to classes.php and look for the porter export data function. It returns the base64 encoding of serialize $lyrics, the only argument to the export data function. So, it looks like serialize and unserialize are like mirror image functions, complementary functions. You know, funny that with names like serialize and unserialize, who would think that they would do the opposite of each other? But it looks like what you can do in PHP is you can serialize a thing, and it creates a string representation, and then you can unserialize a thing, and it takes a string representation and probably returns the thing that was serialized in the first place. We should play around with this a bit. In fact, I'm going to go and pop shell inside the application container again. I think it's PHP-A. There we go. So we've got a PHP interactive shell. So we can go echo hello world, new line. Let me get hello world. So let's serialize hello world. I don't know. Can we do that? We'll find out. Serialize hello world, and we get s:13: double quote hello world. We get the new line from this here, and we get the closing quote and a semicolon. Right on. Let's get rid of the new line just to make things easy. There we go. So we can serialize strings. And what happens if we echo unserialize actually, let's put the new line back in. Let's echo the unserialize of the serialize of hello world. Yeah, we get the string back, hello world. That's kind of cool. Serialize when called upon a string basically makes this really fancy looking string with a little bit in front, some double quotes, and then a semicolon. And if we do unserialize, it gets rid of that bit at the beginning and the end, and we just get the string. Okay, cool. Can we echo 1337? Yes, we can. Let's echo the serialize of 1337. Yeah, we get I:1337 semicolon. All right. Echo the unserialize. I'm sure you can see where this is going. Echo the unserialize of the serialize of 1337, and we just get 1337 back. Okay, so unserialize reverses the serialize, and serialize looks like it kind of decorates whatever you're serializing with a header that probably indicates the type of the thing that you just serialized, because these here are strings, right? This here is a string, and that there is a string with the characters I:, the character 1, the character 3, the character 3, and the character 7, and the character semicolon. I probably indicates that what follows was an integer before it was serialized or freeze-dried or dehydrated. You can think of this as kind of like getting your camping food that you're going to take camping or backpacking through the mountains, and you freeze dry it and you kind of put it in plastic, and then you kind of seal it up and you dehydrate your meals, and you dehydrate it into this really kind of convenient packageable format. Like instead of an integer, it's now a string, or instead of a string, it's now a horrible string. But you've gone and kind of captured the essence of that original object or that original variable or that original thing, and you've represented it in a string format, and encapsulated within that representation is the type. I means it used to be an integer. S means it used to be a string. And it looks like with S, we've actually got the length of the string that was serialized. With I, we don't get a length because it's just an integer. It just goes up until the semicolon. Cool. Can we echo arrays of stuff? Hello world. Yep, we get array. Cool. Let's echo serialize hello world. Okay, this is looking more interesting now. We get A2 I0 S5 hello I1 S5 world. And we get these little curlies around the outside as well. Okay, so it looks like PHP was able to basically serialize or freeze dry or dehydrate an array, which is kind of cool, and it was able to turn this array thing into something that can be copy pasted, right? Like, actually, let's PHP array print. How do you print an array? Print R, that's what I'm looking for. Let's go back up to this echo. Let's turn this into print R. There we go. So when you go print R on this, you get an array with the key 0 being the value hello, the key 1 being the value world. And then we had the serialized version of that array. It looks like this. What if we go and do print R of unserialize, serialize the array, and I'm missing a round bracket. There we go. We get the array back. That's kind of cool because arrays are kind of a bit painful because you've got to do these, you know, square brackets and whatever, and sometimes you've got strings inside the array. Sometimes you've got integers in the array. And if I was to kind of copy this to Menstrual and go, hey Menstrual, I want you to have a copy of my array, then Menstrual might kind of look at this and go, I've got to put square brackets and I've got to do the quotes, and is this a string or an integer? I don't know. As opposed to being able to give Menstrual a copy of the serialized copy of the array and go, hey Menstrual, here's my array that I just built. I want you to have a copy. I made this for you. In fact, I'm going to give Menstrual a copy right now. Where am I? Can't see Menstrual in my list. Oh well, you get the idea. I made this for you, Mens. I could want to give him a copy of that. Or it may not be kind of person to person via IM. It may be the case that you wanted to send it over the network to a different application running somewhere. And you may want to have an application that could serialize this array and then just send the string representation of the serialized object across the network to a different application and go, hey, I want you to have this. I made this for you. You may want to capture the state of an array and put it in a database. And you could get the serialized version of it and then store that as a string in a database. And then later on you could unserialize it and, hey, you've got your array back. So I've laboured the point, but serialize is a way of basically distilling the essence of a whole bunch, of an object such as a string or an integer or an array into a string format. And you can wrap it in base64 encode if you really need to. But then you can store it in a database, you can send it via email, you can send it via IM, you can send it over the network using TCP, you could put it in a cookie, that sort of thing. And it means that later on you can unserialize it and get your shit back. So, that actually seems kind of convenient. Why is this a problem? The issue is that so this application, right, when you do an import, it takes the unserialized base64 decoded thing that you gave it and stores it in data, and then it loops over data, probably as an array. So data is probably supposed to be an array. In fact, remember when we were doing the decoder stuff before, we saw this here? It's an array with a whole bunch of integers in it, right? If we take this here, this string, Mens, thanks for that, print R. I know you got my back. And if we print R, the unserialize of base64 decode that, and then 1, 2, 3, then we get this array, right? And these are the songs we just tried to import. All it is, it's an array of integers, 1, 2, and 8. So that's kind of convenient, you know, being able to ask the user to, hey, you know, I want you to give me an array so that I can then loop over it as, you know, loop over data as $D, and then if it's an integer, I'm going to go and append it to another array, and then I'm going to call add lyrics on that array, and then add all that things to the lyrics that you've got access to. That seems kind of convenient, but when you deserialize stuff, you're not guaranteed to get strings or integers. Like, you could get some really crazy things. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break, take a quick breather. If you need to get yourself some snacks, if you need to get an adult beverage, do so now. When we get back, we're going to cover the whole idea of serializing and deserializing objects instead of simple types. So I'll catch you on the other side of this short break. Alrighty, thanks for sticking by me, everyone. I honestly just needed a quick minute to catch my breath because been a lot of talking tonight, not a lot of typing, and I was just kind of out of breath. And I'm finding that I'm already out of breath coming back. It's also an incredibly warm night here in Brisbane. And my door's shut so that the noise that my roomies are making don't annoy you all. And I'm sitting here sweating as a result. The things I do for you all. On the quick break I took, Menstrual hit me up and said, because I was letting Menstrual know that I'm intentionally taking my time explaining and trying. I know I'm labouring a lot of points about how deserialization actually works, but it's important to me. In my opinion and in my experience, there's a lot of incomplete understandings and misunderstandings about how deserialization and exploitation of deserialization works. So I really want to do a bang-up job and hopefully illuminate some of the kind of the hows and the whys and the what's actually going on with deserialization and what exactly constitutes the bug. And we're going to get to pop chains versus the fact that untrusted data is being deserialized shortly. But a lot of people blame the pop chain when really you need to blame the deserialization. So that's a bit of a spoiler as to my rant that's coming up. And I said to Menz that it's important to me that this topic really gets nailed. So I want to make sure that you all know, because Menstrual's asked me a really good question. I want you to all know that if you've got any questions, queries, concerns, please stop me. Please sing out in chat and use my name, and then it'll light up like grey at the top here, and then I can know that there's someone asking a query. But as well as that, I'm sure my understanding about deserialization is also incomplete and probably full of misunderstandings. If you have a correction to anything that I say, as long as it's not me intentionally kind of stringing a topic out for drama and for theatrical effect, don't spoil it in that case. I'm looking at you, Menstrual. I'm just kidding. I love you, Menz. But yeah, Menz wanted to know, out of band, he asked me, and he's asked again right here, why might an application want serialized data? Why is this pattern existing in development? That's a really good question. I'm not sure I actually have the answer to it, but an argument I had with someone a while ago was that, especially in the case of Java, they said it's just the done thing. It's just the way that Java developers have been taught to ship data around the network and to ship data between different entities. You kind of, one application coughs up some serialized stuff, expecting to get it back later to save state, or an application serializes something and gives it to you to then give to a different system to then kind of enable sharing of data between two separate systems using you as the proxy. And they said that, it's just the way that Java works. It's the way that everyone does it. And so that's why when we find pop chains and stuff like Apache Commons, we need to squash them and we need to yell at Apache Commons for having pop chains. And I said, well, maybe Java developers have been taught that. Maybe that's a problem. Maybe it's not a problem. Maybe we do need to squash all the pop chains, and maybe we do need to work on ways in which Java developers can declare what types of objects they expect to get in, although that's still, even if you whitelist the types of objects you expect to get in, it may be exploitable because whitelists may not be complete. Blacklisting is not the way to go when it comes to picking what to deserialize. Whitelisting, yeah, maybe, but I've been told that it's just the done thing in the Java world, and I honestly haven't done enough work with Java applications to know if that's true or not. I'm just taking that at face value, and I kind of said that may be the case, but if that is the case, then we need to rethink. We the Java community need to rethink the way we do applications and the way that we teach people to develop. But otherwise, why might an application serialize data? As I said, it may want to kind of give you some data in a cookie to then give back to it later on to save state, which actually I'll come back to that one in a second. It may want to give you some data so that you can then go to a third-party system and give that data and say, hey, I was talking to service A, and they want me to give you service B some data to do some stuff with. Then service B might give you some serialized data back to go and give to service A to say, hey, I went over there to the such and such system and did my things with my data, and here's the mutated copy. And you could maybe have the user pass serialized stuff back and forward between two different applications to enable state sharing between different applications. That might be another one. When you save stuff to disk or in a database, it could happen. For example, when you're playing a game, I haven't done game development, but I suppose when you save your game, really what it's trying to do is it's trying to serialize the important things in the world. For example, your current stats of your character, your current character's inventory, maybe the amount of gold you've got, how much health you've got left, and if it's a kind of a big world like a GTA style game, it might want to remember which missions have you done, where are the dead bodies, where are the broken cars, where is your nice Lamborghini parked, and keep track of all the things going on in the universe. And what it's basically doing is it's trying to capture that and serialize that information in a way that can be saved to a file on disk, so that later on that file can be rehydrated, and that may be done using either a native serialization technology or a custom one implemented by the game. In which case you've got to start asking the question, okay, well, could I muck with my save game and then send it to Menstrual and say, hey, this is the save game with all the levels unlocked and you've got invincible helicopters parked in the garage. But then when Menstrual loads that game, maybe there's a save state parsing issue, or maybe there's a deserialization bug going on there that would let you instantiate arbitrary objects in whatever language or framework the game's written in, and off you go. Like that would be another case of when serialization makes sense, would be to when you want to save the state of a game or save the state of an application. You know, when you want to save a Word document, really what it's doing is it's serializing the document to a thing that can be saved on disk, and then when you open a Word document, it's deserializing. Maybe I'm taking too much liberty with the words serialize and deserialize with these examples, but these are just to kind of get you thinking the sorts of situations in which things like serialize may be used by a developer. Now, cookies. Things like Rails, and I think Django maybe? Does Django do it? Can't spell Django cookie. What does a Django cookie look like? So it looks like Django's got the ability to do cookie-based sessions with the pickle serializer being used. I'm guessing that Django lets you kind of configure either which serializer you're using or whether, I guess, you're using any. No, it probably has to be serialized. So Django does it, Rails does it as well. Rails cookie. What happens with frameworks such as Django and Rails? Is there an example of a cookie here? Rails cookie example. Show me a Rails cookie. There we go, there's a Rails cookie. Here's one. So here's a good example of a Rails cookie. So Ruby on Rails and Django both have this idea, and a lot of other frameworks have the idea of, the idea of having the server track session state. When someone's got a session with a web application, they've got a couple of attributes to do with that session. The ID of the account they're logged in with, whether on the dashboard they're sorting by country or age when it comes to viewing the other people logged into the thing, things like that. All the different session attributes that have to do with the way that the application's behaving in their current context are stored in the session. These two frameworks both have the ability to go, the server could kind of keep track of that, and the user could just be given a session ID, and then when the cookie has just the session ID stored in it, and they turn back up and say, here's my cookie, this is my session ID, then the server will kind of go through its table of sessions and go, oh, okay, cool, you're Joe Smith, and you're sorting by person's favorite color when you look at all the other users. Cool, I can now build the page, I can build the dashboard to show you what's going on, Mr. Smith. That's one way of doing it, using a session ID and server-side storage. And the other way is to do client-side storage and say, hey, I'm just going to serialize the user's session state and all the different attributes, such as the ID of the account they're logged in as, and what value they're sorting the user table, the grid view by. I'm just going to go and serialize it, and here is some serialized data. But then the question is like, well, if I'm just going to serialize the data and give it to the user, they could go and change the account ID they're logged in as inside the serialized data. Or they could go and do exactly what we're doing tonight, which is actually achieve arbitrary code exec through deserialization. So the server's like, okay, what I'll do is I'll have my own secret. And before I serialize a user's state into a cookie and give it to them, I will sign the whole thing. I'll hash the whole thing into a HMAC using my secret key, and I'll append -- as a delimiter, and then put my signature on the end. And then when the person shows back up again with a cookie, I'm going to go and pull it apart. I'm going to use the -- to split it into the two halves. This is the serialized data. Here is the signature. I'm going to check the signature of this to make sure that using my secret key it was signed and that this is the valid signature. As long as they match, cool, okay. I'm going to deserialize it all. Oh, hello, Mr. John Smith, how's it going? Why is this useful? I guess it could be more performant if you've got, lots and lots and lots of sessions, lots and lots of users at once. You kind of don't want to, for every single request, go to have them look up in your table to kind of match the session ID to the attributes of the session. You kind of want to go to the client, yeah, you tell me who you are when you turn up in 2 seconds time. The other thing is it lets you load balance easier. As long as all your back-end application servers share the same cookie signing key, then it doesn't matter. You don't need to share session state. All of your back-end application nodes can be relatively dumb and not need to kind of know the entire list of who's logged in right now and what their session ID is. All those back-end application servers can just be sitting there waiting for users to show up with this session data, and they can go, was this signed by either me or one of my peers? Yes, it was. Cool. I'm going to deserialize and welcome back, Mr. Smith. It's good to have you here. That sort of thing. That's why you may want to use signed cookies to track web app session state. And I won't go into that. That's some examples, men. Hopefully that helps explain the sort of. I mean, it probably doesn't justify it. I think that the reasons why you'd have signed cookies is easily justified. As for why an arbitrary application would just straight up deserialize unsigned, untrusted data from you, it's a silly thing to do. But some of the things I said before, being able to carry some data between two different applications, or do client-side saving, or save the state of a document, or save the state of a video game, those might kind of give some hints as to the things going through people's heads when they choose to deserialize arbitrary data. Cool, glad that helped. Glad it helped. So why is all this a problem? Gee, I think it's almost time for another break. I'm out of breath again. It's too hot. It's way too hot. Deserializing data, objects. When the application does this right here and deserializes the post data, well, base64 decodes and then deserializes and then assigns the return value of the unserialized to this $data thing and then iterates over it and does stuff based on it. The PHP application has no idea what it's going to get. It looks like it's hoping to get an array. It's hoping to get an array full of integers. But unserialized isn't guaranteed to cough that up. It could be anything. If we go back to the man page here, the variable being unserialized is an object. So we need to talk about objects. After successfully reconstructing the object, PHP will automatically attempt to call the wakeup member function if it exists. Okay, so objects. I'm sure we're all aware of object-oriented programming, and the I just realized my microphone's turned way up. Hopefully it's not. I'm just going to turn it down a little. Testing 1 2. Okay, hopefully that means that it's not clipping. Hopefully it wasn't clipping earlier. So object-oriented programming. The idea is that you could basically come up with a schema by which your application works and come up with a series of object types and say, for example, we're going to have an object called animal, and we're going to define a template for an animal, and we're going to think about the attributes that we want animals to have. We could have skin type, whether it's scales or fur or flesh, just not fur, not scales, but just flesh, or feathers. We could have an attribute. So each animal that you go and kind of instantiate, you could kind of then set its skin type. You may have another attribute which is favorite color, and all the animals in the application could have a favorite color. And then you could kind of define that as a template. An animal must have a skin type and a favorite color. And then the developer could then go and create an array of animals and start off with an empty array, and then append to it an animal that has feathers and its favorite color is blue. And then append to that array another animal that has skin type of fur and its favorite color is orange. But that doesn't sound that interesting. It sounds like it's just a whole bunch of, an object is just something that kind of saves state. The other thing that an object can do is have behaviors, and you could actually say, it's been a while since I've discussed object-oriented programming. I can't think of how the canonical examples go. But in the case of an animal, you may have a behavior which is eat. And then as soon as you call the eat function on any animal, all it does is kind of appends to the log file. That tasted delicious. And then so you could do, for each animal in the animals array, do animal.eat, bracket, and then each animal would eat, and just go and fill your log up with, gee, that food tasted good, comments. Of course, you wouldn't have things like animal as an object type. You would have things like user and lyric and things like this application is using. So for example, we've got an object type called user, and the user has a behavior of add lyrics, and it adds lyrics to the user. What else can we see here? Nothing else really on this page here, but if we go to songs.php, what objects do we have here? We've got a DB object, which I think that's an object right there. And you can do get lyrics based on the user's get lyrics, so that you would call the user's get lyrics behavior, and you'd get the output of that, which is probably an array of integers that the user has the lyrics of, and then you'd call the DB object's get lyrics behavior with that array of integers. And then for each lyrics as object, you'd call object's short form behavior. So it looks like a lyric object has a short form behavior, which will then return a string that can be echoed to the page, which would produce a list of songs. Like this right here. So each of these here was returned by the DB get lyrics of the user get lyrics output, and then for each one of those we echoed the short form of the lyrics, which looks like it's just a link. Looks like the short form is the link tag. This is a kind of terrible way of explaining objects, but object-oriented programming languages let you define objects, and the way you define a template, by the way, is called a class. You can have a class which then describes what an object has as attributes and what an object can do as methods, and then you can go and instantiate them as needed. So if we edit classes.php, then we'll see that we've got a class called output filter, which has a protected, which means like it's a private attribute that can't be changed by calling code, called match pattern. It has, I think that's what protected means anyway. It's been a while since I've done PHP object stuff. It's got an attribute called match pattern, an attribute called replacement. It's got two functions. I'm guessing the construct function probably gets called when it gets rehydrated. Constructors and destructors. Yeah, I think a constructor method gets called when it gets deserialized. Can someone help me out? Does the constructor get called when you unserialize? Oops, that's not what I wanted. Maybe not. Wake up gets called. Yeah, thanks, Mongo. I knew wake up got called, but so you're saying that construct does not get called as well. Okay, thanks very much. So we should probably look through the classes defined by this application for wake up functions. Anyway, the output filter class has a constructor function as well as a filter function, which will call preg replace, which if you've done PHP hacking before should stand out as being something that could turn out to be useful later on. There's another class called log file format, which has some attributes, filters, and endl. It's got a constructor function, and it's got this format function, and for each, this filters as filter, filter, text, string replace. Yep, cool. Looks like these are used during the kind of formatting of the page, I guess. These objects might be called to do some filtering of output or some formatting of text into the log file format. We've got a log writer file class, which has some attributes, a constructor, and a write log. We saw this before. We had to go and create that directory to get rid of some warnings. So we've got a write log function as well inside here. We've got the logger class. It's got a protected attribute, log writer, blah blah blah. So you can see we've got a whole bunch of different options inside this application for the classes that the code is aware of and the types of objects that could be created. For example, we could go and actually serialize and prepare some serialized objects that the application knows of. And then through the import function on the page, we could go, hey, go and deserialize this for me. Go and create yourself a logger. I know you were expecting an array full of integers to go and actually give me some lyrics, but too bad. You've got a logger now. You can go and actually instantiate, and you know we could go and basically copy this into a separate file, and then go and create a serialized, just go and print a serialized version of our own crafted object, and then go and give it to the import function. And too bad, application, you've now got a logger to deal with. We've got another class called song, blah 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 blah. It's got a function construct, a function to string, log, get name. Oh, this is getting interesting. We've got a destructor function now. I've got a feeling, Mongo, correct me if I'm wrong, but even if construct's not called, after something's woken up, when the page finishes, it'll probably get destroyed, yeah? So we probably get execution of the destruct function. We'll see. We may need to rely on that if there's no wake up function defined anywhere. We've got a user class with the function add lyrics, get lyrics. Yeah, we got no wake up function. Oop, that's not what I wanted. But I reckon the destructor will get called by if we unserialize something that has a destructor, it'll probably get called when the page finishes. Yeah, this is looking good. PHP magic methods such as wake up or destruct. Looks like destruct is just as valuable as wake up for deserialization bugs. Fantastic, thanks Mongo. Alrighty, so we know that if we went and, where was that destructor? Can't type. So if we went and serialized a lyrics object, you know, we went and actually instantiated, we could go and copy this class declaration to our own PHP code. We could then instantiate a lyrics object, probably monkey with some of the attributes of it. We can't really, in our own copy of the code, monkey with the functions. That would be cheating and wouldn't really be useful in an exploit sense. But we could then go and, in our own code, we could instantiate a lyrics object, set these parameters, or these attributes, serialize it. My moustache is tickling my nose. And then turn up to the import page and go and give a base64 encoded serialized lyrics object. And then the code would have no choice. When it deserialized it, it would be like, I've got a lyrics object now. Why can't I hold these lines? Alright, that's actually not what I wanted, but that works so well. That works totally well. The application would be like, I've got this lyrics, and I don't know what to do with this lyric now. Like I wanted an array full of integers so that I could import some lyrics, but now I've got an actual lyric object that I've gone and created through deserializing this string. I don't know what to do with it, and it would just kind of hold onto it in memory. And then the whole import will probably fail because there's nothing to import, because you're trying to import based on an array of integers, not based on an actual lyrics object. But then when the page finished executing and was, you know, kind of cleaning up shop, the object that we had instantiated and caused to be put into memory would have its destructor executed, which would execute this song log. So we'd go to the song attribute and we would call its log behavior or method. It's like, okay, cool. So we would, if we could cause the object put into memory to have a child, like the member of the object's song, be an object which then exposes a log function, the log function would be executed. So we can kind of start to chain together a couple of different objects where, you know, this one's a child of that one, which is a child of that one, which is a parent of that one, which is a parent of that one, which is a parent. And we can kind of build this chain of objects that string together, because we need to have a lyrics object which has two member attributes. And one of these attributes looks like it has to actually be a object which exposes a log function. All right, cool. Let's go and search for function log. All right, so the logger class exposes a log function. All right, cool. So what if we had a lyrics object with the child attribute of that being a logger object? This code would then be called when the page got destroyed, when the script got when the script finished and all the objects had to be destroyed. It would cause this object's log writer. We've got a log writer attribute here, the write log function to be called. It's like, okay, cool. We've got to go and find a object that has a class that has a write log function. So we go function write log and go, okay, the log writer file class. So now we're going to have a lyrics, which is the parent of a logger, which is the parent of a log writer file. And then this will be executed, this write log function, which is going to do text equals this format $text. So hang on, write log text. We actually, where was our? I'm getting lost. You can see you get lost pretty quickly. So we had a logger, which called write log text. We're going to need to start documenting this, aren't we? Let's start again. Let's go look for destruct. Can't type destruct. There we go. So lyrics calls destruct. So we've got a lyrics. Excuse me. Okay, so we've got a lyrics type object which has the destruct method called when the page finishes. All right, cool. And that does this song log. Right. So what supports a log function? Function log. So logger. So logger log is going to get called by the lyrics object, and it does this log writer write log text. And so it takes the argument $text. So log actually, when log was being called, this song log, there was no argument being given, but log does expect to get $text. Hopefully, if there's none there, then it won't complain. It mustn't complain. It must be okay. So logger log text does this log writer write log text. So what supports the write log function? What exposes the write log function? It is log writer file has its write log called, passing in $text, which actually came from nowhere, so hopefully it's not important. And that does then it does file put contents, goes and writes something to disk. Okay. So now we need something that supports the format function. I mean, we can write to. We've got an arbitrary file right here, yeah, because we get to specify the entire attributes of all these different things that are members of something that are members of something. We could supply a file name that has ../../, and we can actually write an arbitrary file to disk. Although we don't have control over $text, I think $text is going to be probably empty string by the time PHP gets through to this point. Hopefully it's empty string, hopefully it's not syntax error. But the other thing that happens is this format, so the format function gets called. So for function format. Function format does for each this filters as filter, do text equals filter filter. Okay, so filters is an array of objects, which will then, as filter, each one will have filter method called on $text. Okay, so I should probably write this down. So log file format, it supports the format function, which was being called here, and it does for each filter do the filter. So now we need to know what supports the filter interface. Function filter. Output filter does, and it will return preg replace on this match pattern, this replacement data. Alright, we're going to be sweet because preg replace is a favorite of CTF and exploit people. There should be a big honkin' warning on preg replace somewhere. No. Have they deprecated my function? Okay, so PHP 7, I think they've gone and actually killed the behavior I need to exploit this challenge. I think I'm running PHP 7, aren't I? And I'm sure people saw that earlier and was just like, he's going to have trouble when it comes time to actually exploiting preg replace. Twitch, Kpop, vim Kpop / Dockerfile. Yep, I'm running PHP 7. Fantastic. Does Docker have PHP 5? Yeah, right? I've got a bad feeling about tonight. Yeah, honestly, if this is the worst that happens, I'm going to be pretty happy with that. I thought we were going to have all sorts of awfulness. What have I missed? Where am I based? In Brisbane currently. I'll be moving to Melbourne shortly. But Slickus, I'm based in Brisbane. Is there PHP 5? Yeah, there's PHP 5. What do we reckon with 5.6? Is this e-deprecated level error being emitted going to stop me doing what I want? Or will it just show a warning? Alright, let's just quickly go and go from PHP 5.6-Apache and do a rebuild and see if see how badly, see how much trouble I'm in. Yeah, Mensa was good fun. Had some peeps over, had a barbecue, swam in the pool, listened to Triple J. It was a good day. Had some beers, had some tinnies. It was delightful. Yeah, indeed. Beers on UN Multi. I'll be looking forward to it. It's right after Crikey, the first week in March that I head on down, and I will hold you to the beers offer, because I will need people to show me around Melbourne and show me what all the cool stuff to do is, and where should I be and where should I not be. So far so good. The machine looks to be building okay. This installing the MySQLi might be where things fall over. And hopefully this error being emitted when past the /e modifier is not going to hurt too much. What we're going to be doing is, if we can get all the way through to this being executed, if we can control the, I think it's the match pattern. Where do the modifiers go? Yeah, pattern. If we can control the first, if you can ever control the entirety of the first argument to preg replace, or I think the end of the argument, the first argument to preg replace is where you put the modifiers. Then that's code exec on old PHPs that actually still support the /e. Why do we have this lever modifier? We go to the modifiers and look for e. It was deprecated in 5.5, removed as of 7. So hopefully deprecated in 5.5 we can get it to work. If this, and they really drive the point home, if the deprecated modifier is set, preg replaced as normal substitution of back references in the replacement string, evaluates it as PHP code and uses the result for replacing the search string. Make sure the replacement constitutes a valid PHP code string, otherwise PHP will complain about a parse error. use of it is discouraged as it can easily introduce security vulnerabilities. Well, they don't discourage exploit writers from using it. They just discourage the developers, I suppose. Yeah, being able to control the first argument to preg replace is bad noise for everyone. PHP-A. Alright, we've got a shell. Let's go and play with preg replace to explore how it works. And make sure the /e modifier works. So we can go echo preg place. So the pattern A, the replacement B, the subject will go CCC ACC. Delimiter must not be alphanum or /. I didn't give a delimiter. And we got Docker spewing warnings. There we go, that's what I wanted. Justin rage quit. Are we back yet? The good news is that the video I'm doing for YouTube shouldn't be mucked up by Docker rebuilds. Yeah, I'm out. I knew bad stuff was happening. Docker failed me. I've got Docker spewing these really annoying messages into my terminals everywhere. But that's something that we know happens, or something I know happens, and I just live with. Pings aren't looking great. Pings are not looking good. Pings are all over the shop. Are we back yet? We're back. Alright, thanks for the heads up. Let me know so at least I can kind of slow my roll when the stream goes funky. But otherwise we'll power on because the YouTube copy is getting spooled out to disk. I'll upload it to YouTube tomorrow. And that should be a golden source of learning opportunities. Preg replace. This is stuff going on everywhere. Preg replace. This is how it works. You supply a regex as a pattern and the replacer to put in every time that the pattern gets hit, and then you supply a subject, and inside the subject, all the A's will get replaced with B's. But if you go and put the /e modifier at the end of the preg replace pattern, and then inside the replacement, I think you can go and do things like PHP info. Then yeah, you get PHP info executed, right? Or you can go and put in print r hello world. Right, and basically preg replace, if this E is on the end and you supply a pattern that actually gets hit inside the subject, you go and put a pattern of dot in so it will just hit on every single character, and you'll execute the PHP code you supply in the replacement string every single time that pattern gets hit, thanks to this magic /e. So preg replace, if you can control, if the user can control the first parameters of preg replace, then the developers are gonna get sad, and the exploit engineers are gonna get happy. As long as it's an old PHP, because PHP came to their senses and actually removed this from PHP 7. PHP 5 looks like it still works a treat. So, if we can get our way through to this part of the code by building a chain of objects that is the parent of an object, that's the parent of an object, that's the parent of an object, that has all the right attributes in the right places at the right time to then cause this line to be executed, if we can control the match pattern and the replacement, then we're off to the races with code execution. So I'm going to take a 5-minute break. I'm going to use the excuse of let my internet settle down a bit, but really I'm just out of breath. It's a warm night, and yeah, I've had enough of this. So 5-minute break. If you need to grab a beverage, if you need to get some snacks, now is the time, and we'll be back on the other side of this short break. Where is my... There it is. All right, bye. Hey everyone, sorry about that. I got distracted by some shiny things. So we're back, and let's see if we can finish knocking this over by stringing together a whole bunch of objects in a way that lets us control this preg replace call. If you've just joined us, then thank you for suffering through a very long BRB. I left to have a quick breather, and I got totally nerd sniped and sidetracked. What we're doing is we're working with PHP deserialization and exploiting an application, a CTF application actually, that deserializes user-supplied data. So now we're getting to kind of the pointy end. We've had a look at the class declarations that are accessible to the application, and we can see there's one with a destruct function declared. This is the lyrics class. So if we go and serialize a lyrics object of our own and set the lyrics and the song attributes to some value, then this destruct will be called, and the attribute song will be treated as an object, and the log function will be called on it. So what we should probably do actually is hack the import file to actually give us some debug output as to exactly what we've done. Actually, php-a echo var dump capital A. What does var dump give us? Okay, cool. Var dump it looks like it's probably a pretty good way to actually show us exactly what we've gone and imported. In fact, it probably already does that, I think. Let's go to an export. Grab that there, go import, drag that in. I could have sworn there was like a... it was on the adding songs, I think, that we had a bit of debug turd left in by the developers, I think. So let's go and hack the import page so that after the deserialize has been done, a var dump is performed to show us what just got deserialized. Actually, you know what? Let's go and recursively copy kpop to kpop debug. Alright, so we'll go and browse to kpop debug. And debug is going to be the copy of the code that I actually go and hack on, and then kpop will be the pristine original copy. So I'm going to vim kpop, actually let's cd kpop debug, and vim import. Alright, so after this data equals unserialized whatever, we'll do echo pre plus, is it plus in PHP to concatenate stuff? I think it is. Echo pre plus var dump of data plus end pre. This should give us a somewhat nice representation upon successful import of exactly what got deserialized. So we'll save that. Let's go and do the export. Copy this here. Import. Put it in. That's not rendered like I wanted to see it rendered. What's going on? Where's my pre-tags? Alright, so in PHP it's dot to concatenate, not plus. Still didn't get pre-tags. I'm guessing var dump goes and prints it's by itself. It doesn't actually return a string. PHP var dump. Yeah, it's a void function, so it doesn't actually return the string, it just goes and actually dumps it. Alright, let's just go and echo pre, and then var dump, and then echo end pre. There we go, that's what I wanted. I want it to look like that so we can actually see it with the new lines and stuff. Alright, so when we do an import of some real data, we get this array with two members. We get the integer 1 and the integer 2. Cool. Var dump has to be inside pre-tags with echo statements. Yeah, men's looks like var dump doesn't return a string, it just goes and does the dump, so I needed to kind of not trust the concatenation and it's dot to concat. Thanks, Mongo. No, singularity, it's never too late for chicken tendies. Oh man, I've got work left to do tonight as well. I've got to log on and actually fix that server whose disk I filled. Bleh. It can wait. I told work that I had prior arrangements tonight and that I'd be in late tomorrow because I'll be up late fixing that server. It's only an analysis server, it's not a prod server, so don't stress. Not that you were, but don't stress. Alright, so the import page is now giving us verbose debugging info of what exactly we're pulling in. Let's quit that. Actually, let's exit that. I'm going to pop in a totally new terminal because I want tmux running inside that container. Twitch, kpop. Let's go and do this again to get my tmuxable docker compose exec nonsense going on. Docker compose exec kpop blah blah blah. Alrighty. So let's go cd kpop debug. Let's play around in here. Let's go doot.php. And doot.php is just for us to play around in for a bit. I don't have my tmux. Okay. Breathe. We're all good. Echo 1337. Kpop debug. PHP doot.php. There we go. That's not what I wanted. Bear with me 1 sec while I just bring it. That's not what I wanted. I wanted the privacy screen, not the BRB. Sorry, I'm just thinking how I'm going to get around not having my tmux RC over in that container. Alrighty. So I'm going to do that. And then we'll do it again down here. Okay. So you know what? I didn't need a separate URXVT for this. Ah well, I'm sticking with it. I'm going to live with my mistakes. Kpop debug. Vim the doot file. So echo 1337, new line. That's better. PHP doot. Alright, cool. So we've got a PHP script. What are we doing? Let's go and pull in the classes file to start with. Include classes.php. We may need to go and actually have a hacked copy of classes.php, but this will do for now. So what are we actually doing? So the classes file declares the lyrics class as having 2 attributes. What's the syntax for actually instantiate an object? PHP new object. Can we change protected PHP protected attribute? Can we change these? Okay, so we can't change protected attributes. What if we've got this classes.php. This is the Kpop debug. What if we just go and change all instances of protected to public? How much is that going to break things? I'm going to live dangerously. Let's go and change every single protected to public. And let's see if we've broken stuff. So we're going to do include classes. We're going to go dollar my lyrics equals new lyrics. Is it just new lyrics? Yeah. And then do dollar my lyrics. Actually, let's go and echo serialize my lyrics. Let's see what happens. The destructor got really sad. Call to a member function log on null in blah. Okay, cool. So if we go and so here's our serialized object. Sure, there's better ways of printing this, but I'm feeling lazy tonight and not learning my PHP all over again. Multiplex of Google's tendies. Yeah, right. Nice work. Oh, you're making me hungry. I ate all my snacks earlier. I had yogurt, ate it. I had Jats and dip left over from Australia Day, ate it. So now I'm like totally snackless. Which is good, because I knew if I didn't eat them, I'd be eating them on stream, and you didn't have to be subjected to that. Echo encoded dot base 64 encode serialize my lyrics. dot new line. So if we run that, then we get a serialized object, which is a object of type lyrics, has a member lyrics set to null, and a member called song set to null. And we'll have to monkey with these shortly. But this basically pulling in the classes.php file and then creating a new lyrics and then serializing it prevented us from having to actually craft this string ourselves, because I've done that before I realized that, hey, why don't I just use PHP to go and create me an object? Like, that seems like a sensible thing to do. And then we get this fatal error. Let's go and get rid of the destructor from our modified classes.php. That way we don't get the error and we don't end up exploiting ourselves later on. Let's just go and comment. Is it / / in PHP for comment? Nope. PHP comment. Yeah, it's //. Why am I still getting the fatal error? Call to a member on line 86. What did I just edit? A different destructor. Are there two different destructors? There are two. I didn't realize that. Okay, this is the DB class, or the con class. Yeah, we don't want to use that in our pop chain. Okay, cool. Alright, so this destructor here, we'll go and comment this one out, so that we don't get this error and we don't exploit ourselves. Missing argument for lyrics construct. That's right, we're not gonna use the constructors, because some of the constructors might not let us set the attributes we want. I'm just gonna go and set the attributes directly. So we get this serialized thing. Let's go and copy this here, hey? And paste it into the application, see what happens. We're going to import the encoded thing, and we get an object called lyrics, which is an attribute of lyrics set to null and an attribute of song set to null. This is the debug version, so that we actually have commented out that thing that we didn't want. Which I want a kind of debug and a really debug instance of this code. Well, if we go and copy this encoded thing across to the non-debug version of Kpop, we should actually get an error. Yeah, fatal error, call to a member function, log on null in blah. Okay, so we can see here that the real application, not our debug version, is actually calling some code based on the thing we just deserialized. It's trying to call log on a null member function value in classes on line 86. This is good. We're getting somewhere. We've got some vague sense of our execution having started and having kicked off. We just need to flesh out this lyrics object that actually has a song attribute that points to something that has a log function, which is going to be a logger object. Okay, and we can see here that we're starting to build a chain. By the way, this is what's called a pop chain. So in terms of binary exploitation, when it comes to overcoming DEP, I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with the idea of ROP chains, which stands for return-oriented programming. A ROP chain is a sequence of pointers and data that, when slid through in a return fashion, cause something to happen, and you build up a chain of them to achieve an outcome. A pop chain, on the other hand, is property-oriented programming, whereby you devise a chain or a sequence or a series of objects that have properties that point to each other in a chain that achieve an outcome such as giving remote code execution or arbitrary code execution. So it's similar to ROP, in which you kind of got to build your own sequence of little gizmos and gadgets, but you've got to, in this case, devise a sequence of crafted objects strung together through their property fields that, when deserialized as a chain, cause something cool to happen. So we're building, this is what's called building a pop chain. I'm pretty sure there's actually tools out there to do this for you as well, but we're going to do it manually. PHP pop chain generator. In fact, I think it was at KiwiCon a couple of years ago that this was done. Yeah, by someone from Insomnia. Who did it? Hyperwired, good stuff. So Hyperwired, I actually wasn't at KiwiCon this year, presented. This is actually probably a really good slide deck, by the way, that explains what I'm doing, except better. So you should go and definitely check this out here. In fact, I'll paste it into chat. Yeah, very cool. Cheers, Multi. Oh, Jardeth is off. Good night, Jardeth. Thanks for dropping by. Go read this slide deck. It tells you what I'm trying to do, except better. I'm pretty sure that Hyperwired may have even produced a generator that basically builds them all for you, builds pop chains for you. But we're going to build one ourselves. So we've got this little script here, which has generated a new lyrics function, new lyrics object, and then gone and serialized it. Now, how do we actually? Is it $mylyrics? What's the attribute we're trying to set? Song. Is it song that has the destructor? Yeah. Is that how you set member attributes? Yeah, so a song is now a string AAAA. Cool. So this is how we set the member attribute to something. But we want to set that to become, what was it, a logger, because logger actually implements the log function. So we're going to set song to be new logger. Actually, you know what we're going to do? $myLogger equals new logger. And then we're going to set the song to be myLogger, because logger needs to have a attribute called logwriter, which points to a logwrite file object. But for now, we'll do it in a second. Let's just go and create the chain so far. There we go. We go and paste this into the real application by import. What error do we get now? Call to member function log on null. Cool. So we're actually all the way through now to, actually, you know what? Are we still back at the beginning? Because I suck. Yeah, I suck. So log got called on null. Why didn't this work? Where's my debug version? It's gonna hack the destructor back in. Okay, we got a different warning. In the debug version compared to the real version. Really? Why is that? Why are we getting a different message. Is it because I went and made some stuff non-protected, perhaps? Because song shouldn't be null. Song should be a logger object. So why are we getting... I'm not getting errors here. Bummer. Strange. This is stumped me. Sorry, I wasn't expecting to see this, so now I'm doubting a lot of things. Why are we seeing this? Move classes to classes 2.php. In Doot, I'm going to pull in classes 2.php. I'm going to copy kpop/classes to here. Refresh. Okay, so when attributes are protected, interesting. How do we set protected attributes then in our serialized object? Interesting. I'm going to copy classes. I'm just going to remove classes 2. Go back to Doot. Pull in classes. Run it and we should get... Yeah, you can't actually go and muck with protected attributes. Maybe we just need to use the constructor, like grown-ups. So lyrics has a constructor where this song equals song, this lyrics equals lyrics, but it takes the arguments backwards, so the song is the second attribute. In PHP, can you just have, is it, oops. Yeah, I think you can just have null. So classes.php, so my lyrics is going to be, let's comment this for now. Let's delete it for now. So lyrics is going to take 2 arguments. Is the first one song? No, the second one's song. So the song is going to be new logger. Quit that. Run that. Okay, so I think these stars here represent the protectedness, which is what was missing before. So now if we copy this, go back to import, paste it in, then we get missing argument 1 for log. This is in the debug version. In the live version, we pull that in, and we get the same error. Okay, cool. So when I went and changed all of the protected attributes to public, I did a bad thing because it changes the way in which objects become serialized because we're not serializing protected attributes, which actually gets captured in the serialization of an object. Today I learned. Yeah, thanks Mongo. I was being dumb. But that's good because now we've all learned that you can't just go and set all the protected attributes to public so you can go and monkey with them because that changes the way in which the serialization works. And that's fine. We can deal with this. So now logger. Logger has to have... what warning are we seeing now? Missing argument 1 for logger. So what is how does logger work? It's got a protected log writer. It's got a constructor which sets the log writer to be the first argument. That's good. Then it's got a function log text. See, this missing argument is just a warning, so we should be able to get away as long as the target system didn't have warnings as errors in PHP. I'm sure PHP must be able to be configured to treat warnings as errors. So as long as the victim didn't have warnings as errors, this warning should be ignored, and we should be able to get away with the fact that our call to log actually doesn't come with the argument defined, but we need to have the log writer attribute set to a instance of log write file. So that's fine. We can deal with that. So we're going to have lyrics is new lyrics. Hopefully we can tab this out. And I'm missing my Vim setup, so I actually got a tab there. We can deal with that. So the logger is going to take one argument, which is just going to be the log writer, which we're going to have be a log write file object. So pinch that. Run that. Class log write file not found. Okay, how did I stuff up? I'm looking for something that implements the write log function. It's not a log write file, it's a log writer file. My bad. That'll teach me to not copy paste and to not type like an idiot. So we've got a log writer file. If we run doot, and then we get a new object. Go back to the debug one, pull it in, and we get a call to a member function format on null. So you can see here that we're starting to kind of flesh our pop chain out bit by bit. Now what I'm going to do before we continue is, I don't want to exploit myself because we are actually in our doot file, which is, I shouldn't call it doot, I should be mature. Let's move doot to craft.php because it's going to craft our pop chain. Now craft pulls in classes.php. Let's go and copy classes.php to classes safe.php. And in classes safe, we're going to go and get rid of the destructor that is causing our craft script to execute stuff or to actually kick off our pop chain. We don't want that. So this is our destructor here, we'll get rid of it. And then we vim craft. And if we go in php craft.php, we need to pull in classes safe instead of classes in our crafting script. And there we go. Now our crafting script isn't actually working off the pop chain. We're slowly building up our pop chain bit by bit. Hopefully this makes sense. All I'm doing is bit by bit going through, building up the chain necessary to reach that preg replace function. So now the error we're getting is call to member function format on null. What implements format? It is the log file format object. So the write log function belonging to log writer file is going to do text equals this format and run the format function on the format attribute, the format function belonging to the format attribute. Then it's going to do a file put contents, blah blah blah. So the log writer file constructor takes two arguments, file name and format. I'm going to set the file name. Oh, I thought we had a arb file right, but maybe we don't. It's going to do string replace ... with underscore. It's a shame. Ah well, in the constructor we'll set the file name to doot.txt, so it should just write a doot.txt file in this location, which is going to be relatively harmless. It'd be really nice if we could have directory traversed all the way up to dev null and actually not left turds on disk, but alas it was not meant to be, so we'll set the file name to doot.txt. In the log writer file it's going to have a argument of doot.txt. And we're going to have a format argument which points to the thing that implements the format function, which is going to be log file format.
Everything changes.
That's looking a bit more sane. So if we run our craft.php, we get an even bigger object being serialized. Do another import, and now we get invalid arguments supplied for each on line 24. So now we've got a each that is complaining because how far have we gotten? We're up to log file format, which is defined here. The constructor takes two arguments, filters and endl, and the format function is being called, which is going to do for each this filters as filter. So we need to have filters be an array, and then endl isn't actually being used anywhere in this function, so we'll just set it to null. So the first thing was going to be an array, and the second one I said was going to be null. So now this for each should at least succeed, because a for each over an empty array should basically be a NOP. So I'll go and grab this, copy it, go back, paste it in, and there we go. Yep, we've only got the warning now, not the error. So we've got error-free code because we've got this array being for-eached in our pop chain. So now if we go and set our array to contain AAAA, we should get an error back, which will tell us how far in the code we've gotten, because it'll be trying to call a function on the string AAAA, and we will be reminded of what it is. There we go. Call to a member function filter on a string. Okay, so filter is being called on each of the members of this array. So what implements filter? It is... we didn't get that far when building the pop chain. Function filter is executed by an output filter, and here is our preg replace. Fantastic. Ooh, data. Let me just try something real quick. Okay, we're good. We're good. Ignore that. I was just starting to panic, thinking I had to take a quick detour. Okay. So, filter is being called, and I'm pretty sure at this point we're calling it with no. Ooh. Okay, no, we're still good. We're still good. We're still good. We're calling filter with no arguments, and we can see that the filter function, as provided by the output filter class, returns a preg replace with 3 arguments being passed to preg replace. And in the constructor of the output filter, we can set the pattern and the REPL, which will be the first 2 arguments of the preg replace, and the third argument, data, we don't control. In fact, it comes from, I reckon, the where's it coming from? What's calling filter? And does log file format have a text? I'm going to assume it's either null or empty string, just to assume the worst, because we should still be fine. And preg replace, as we know, with the /e modifier in the first argument, lets us execute arbitrary PHP code. So, final step in our pop chain is to create an output filter. Don't need that anymore. So in this array, there's going to be a new output filter. With the constructor taking the first argument to preg replace first, the second argument to preg replace second. Okay, cool. I'm going to set the first argument to preg replace to be slash, the regex will be empty string with the e modifier, and the replacer of preg replace will be php info bracket semicolon. If we serialize that up there, then we get this beast of a base64 encoded serialized pop chain, which, if everything has gone to plan, should execute PHP info as code when we rehydrate it. Let's copy that there. Go back to the import on our debug copy, paste it in, send it off, and cross our fingers. And we've got PHP info being executed. So we've now, through the magic of unserialize and pop chains, got arbitrary PHP code execution. To make this nice and consumable, what we'll do is we'll change the PHP info so that we don't have to kind of go and add some code in each time and rerun it each time. Let's just go and set the output filter. Let's set the payload to execute to be eval $_request C. What this will do is this will just act as a little first stage, which will take data out of the $_request array in the C key. So we can do things like $C equals PHP info, and away we go. We can just go and very easily put our intended PHP code straight in the URL query string, or in the post body, or in the cookies, or what have you, and $_request will then contain a copy of it, and every single time this payload gets executed, it will just go and execute whatever is in that C element. So here is our excuse me. Here is our final string. This here is our pop chain that will execute as PHP code the C request element whenever we fire it off. So I'll go back, paste it into our debug copy, send it off. If we go to burp, send that to the repeater, and it's already a post. And if we go and append C equals PHP info bracket semicolon, right click, request in browser, copy, paste. Oh, it's making a liar out of me. What's going wrong? Okay, I think that was just burp not doing what I thought it was going to do. There we go. So now we can actually pick our poison here rather than having to generate a whole new pop chain each time and copy paste the base 64 and what have you. So now we can go and use a PHP payload such as pass through ID, send that off, request in browser, and there we go, code execution as dub-dub-dub-data. I think that should be a good place to finish this off, but I'm keen to stick around if people are keen to keep on talking about deserialization bugs in general. If there's any questions, queries, concerns, actually, you know what? I am parched. My water bottle's empty. I'm going to grab a quick drink, and when I come back, let's wrap this up. Let's chat about deserialization. If any of that was unclear, then now is the time to either grab some snacks, get your tendies out of the oven, or start hammering those questions out. Mongo and myself, and anyone else, Menstrual as well, anyone else who's got a good handle on deserialization bugs would love to help out and chat and clear up any confusion. Also, if there's anything I said tonight that you didn't agree with, now is the time to get into an argument with me. I'm going to grab a quick bottle of water. We'll be back on the other side of this 2-minute break.
Running like a Hellcat. Like a Hellcat.
Alright, and we're back. Mongo has a great point. For this kind of thing, I favor copying the classes over to your own PHP and modifying them. You don't want to deal with the side effects of constructors when building your payload. Good point. So, Mongo, correct me if I'm wrong, but would a valid way to do that have been to copy classes, as we did before, copy classes to classes_safe. I've got my craft.php. This is, by the way, provided that all the classes are in one place. If all the classes are like scattered 6 ways from Sunday through various libraries and or through various different parts of a framework and or through various different parts of the application code, you may just want to kind of copy paste the class declarations into your own craft.php file and edit them in place. But we've got classes safe being pulled in. We could have edited classes safe and basically nulled all the constructors, left the attribute declarations the exact same, but basically deleted all the contents of the constructors, and instead of this kind of thing and that kind of thing, just gone and directly changed the protected attributes directly in the constructor, or basically gone and fleshed out the constructor. Because I guess in some cases you may want to have, object A, type A, with a member of type B, with another member of type A, with a member of type C, in which case going and hard-coding stuff into the constructor would not work. You'd still need the constructor interface. I guess, Mongo, would you say that's fair, that in some cases you're still going to need the constructor interface? In some cases you can probably just go and monkey with default value. I don't know if PHP lets you have default values of attributes or hard-code your attributes in the constructor, but yeah, interesting. I'm curious as to how Mongo in this case, how would you have monkeyed with the class declarations and actually created the objects? If Mongo's still around, if we all haven't taken the opportunity, quick, Justin's gone getting water, leave. You're more than welcome, Multi. I'm super glad you're around, dude. Good to have you back in the country, and super good to have you here. Thanks for sticking around, dude. Singularity, glad you enjoyed it. Thank you, Atari. What game am I hacking? It's Clan Styles. It's a CTF challenge done from the Plaid CTF a few years ago. There's a link down in the description to the challenge source code. And thank you. I'm a big fan of i3. For stuff like that constructor that had a string replace, right? Yep. You're right. Great point. I remember saying, I distinctly remember saying, I remember seeing this and going, Fizzer, we don't have an ARB file right. And that was really quite silly of me. I feel silly now. We do have an ARB file right because there is no need for us to obey this constructor when we build our pop chain to be serialized. That was my bad. I got very much blinded by the fact that to set the protected attributes you had to use, or you can use the constructor. I was really quite silly and forgot the fact that we can patch the constructor and create pop chains with attributes that have bad characters. So we actually do have an ARB file right in the case of this application. We have a total ARB file right. So good point, Mongo. Thanks very much for that. Very funny, Clan Styles. Mongo's a good dude. If you ever met Mongo, I feel very sad for you. He's a brilliant bloke. How hard was it to learn Vim bindings? Wasn't that bad. I was using arrow keys for a long time. I was using my arrow keys in insert mode for a long time. I think I used I haven't gone so far as using something called Vim Molasses. But if you just search for Vim unbind arrow keys, then there's stuff to put in your vimrc to actually disable the arrow keys, forcing you to use HJKL, and HJKL is really the way to go with Vim. That'll kind of get you on the road towards learning the Vim bindings. There's a plugin called Vim Molasses, which I used for like a day and got totally sick of it. What it does is, if you're like me and you just do stuff like KKKK and JJJJJJJJ and hold J to kind of scroll through files like this, or if you wanted to go to beginning string replace, there it is. I did that by holding L. Like, I've cranked my repeat rate right down so I can do that without it being too painful. But it's bad because you should be able to do things like, for example, set num and rel num. Should be able to go for J to go down 4 lines, and then go /str rep n for next, and there you go. You're where you want to be, and you don't have to kind of sit there and hold the H and the L and kind of position it perfectly. You should be able to go, 4 up to go to the class. There's probably an even quicker way to do that, probably using Vim surround or something to actually get back to this squiggly, but there's supposed to be better ways than just using JJJK. And what Vim Molasses does is, if you press more than one J in a row, it slows it down. So you kind of hold down J, it just goes dup, 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 and makes you realize that holding HJKL around to move around is a bad idea. So I haven't gone that far, but yeah, I didn't find Vim otherwise too hard to learn. Yeah, Clan Styles, you just kind of learn those as you need them. What you'll be doing is you'll find, like, for example, right there, I thought to myself, gee, there's got to be a better way to go back to the class declaration, maybe by this squiggly bracket here, and I kind of then in my mind went, I should look into how to navigate by squiggly brackets. I'm sure there's a way to do it. But it's basically, you'll find, for example, you'll be sitting there and going, alright, I need to do a find replace. I know if I was using an IDE, I'd go edit, replace, click the field, type what I'm finding for, click replace, type what I'm looking for, then hit the find and replace all button. You'll be sitting in Vim going, I know there's got to be a way, and you'll just go Vim, find and replace. And you'll just Google things as you need to do it. Find each occurrence of foo in all lines and replace with bar. that's what I need. I don't know really what percent means and what the S and the slash and the slash and the G, but you'll just kind of do that. And then one day you'll kind of go, what do each of these mean? And you'll look into how regexes work and how Vim's magic regexes work. And the S means to search and replace on the line you're in. Percent means to do it on every line in the file. So you prefix your substitute with... Excuse me, I think I just ate a bug. Prefix it with percent. Whew, I ate something. Prefix it with percent to mean the whole file, and G to mean to do it multiple lines in a row when you need to. So you just pick these things up, you'll be sitting there going, there's got to be a better way. You'll Google it, you'll learn one trick, you'll use it that day, maybe you'll use it tomorrow, maybe you'll use it the day after, and after that I find it's pretty well cemented in memory. Yeah, exactly. Jeff, good to have you around, dude. I'll catch you soon, eh? Vim users are clearly working faster than other people, but the ramp up is brutal. Yeah, the ramp up is pretty brutal, but hey, when you use Vim, then people kind of say things to you like, hey, wow, you can use Vim. Did that take long to learn? And you can go, nah, not even. I do, right? It's because I've got, when I stream, I've got lamp, light, so that you can actually see me. Otherwise, if I start to turn these off, things go really dark really quickly. There you go. That's what it'd be like without that lamp on. And if I turn those off, you'd see nothing. And I think the extra lamps mean that the bugs just want to be around to be eaten. Yeah, Clan Styles, I'm terrible when it comes to keyboard shortcuts for i3. Right now I'm terrible. The way I stack my tabs, or the way I kind of, put them next to each other, the way I don't use the keyboard, I should be using the keyboard more. In fact, I'm getting like a bit of a mousing wrist thing going on. I should learn my hotkeys for sure. So hopefully tonight made sense with the PHP deserialization, with the idea of, and this is the rant that I was really working up to. Java has been, people have been going to town on Java deserialization for about a year or two now. November 2015. This Foxglove security post was really what kind of kicked off the Java flurry, in my opinion. And this is a really good write-up as well. Everyone should read this. If you haven't read this, you should go and read this. But what happened with, because I think there was another talk before this that kind of went unnoticed. Oops, nope. Pickle. Yeah, marshalling pickles. I mean, this kind of stuff is pretty old, but I think it looks like marshalling pickles. They released an unserialized vulnerability in the Commons Collection library. See, this is where I had an issue with all the flurry that happened out of this whole post. Is people calling the Commons Collection library vulnerable and saying that the Commons Collection library had an unserialized vulnerability. I don't think that's right. To be fair, they go on to say that any application that uses this library, there are many, the Commons Collection is a very common library, and unserializes untrusted data, again many, now has a CVSS 10 vulnerability. This is the vulnerability. Unserializing untrusted data. Yes, Commons Collections screwed you, and it has a pop chain. It has a bunch of class declarations. When we were doing this before, by the way, we were knitting together all the different classes that the application defines for use in the program. And buried deep within one of them and reachable through a pop chain was a preg replace with a... Once you were doing the deserialized pop chain dance, you could control the first parameter of, and preg replace up until PHP 7 allowed you to use the /e modifier. Again, preg replace isn't vulnerable. It had a very questionable, exploitable feature, but... And the fact that they took that out of preg replace in PHP 7 is fantastic, but I still wouldn't say that PHP had a vulnerability. It was working as designed. Commons collections had a whole bunch of class declarations like these ones here that could be strung together in a chain and then eventually resulted in something like this being done, which can then be leveraged for code execution. And it's like, okay, yeah, so any application that pulls in Commons collections now has a pop chain that can be used. But still, it's not the library's fault. The fact that Apache could patch Commons collection to not have the pop chain work is fantastic. Like that's an activity that should be done. But this word vulnerability, I'm still not sold on. I don't know if I'd call it a vulnerability. It's a semantic thing, but everyone was running around like headless chooks, and I heard a lot of people go, you better go patch your Apache Commons collection, patch a Commons collection because there was a bug in Commons collection that you got to patch it. Yeah, but if you're scared and patching your Commons collections, it means that your application, or you, if you're the developer, you are deserializing stuff you shouldn't be. And it's just a matter of time until another pop chain comes up in Commons collections, or another library, or in your application. Maybe your application has all the classes that are needed to build a pop chain. The pop chain isn't the vulnerability. The deserialization of untrusted data, in my opinion, is the vulnerability. There's always going to be another pop chain that can be found. You can stop deserializing untrusted data and it's not going to matter. So that's my rant. Maybe it's popular, maybe it's not popular, maybe you agree, maybe you don't. In which case, 1v1 me. I'll go, let's take it outside. Let's do it, let's take it out. But I believe that deserialization of untrusted data is the problem, not the pop chain. That's my rant. Rant over. Hey Drew, good to have you around, dude. Welcome. Yeah, it was good, eh? But again, it's a technique. Yep, that's it. It's pop chains around, ways to find pop chains, ways to exploit it is all good. But yeah, the way to fix this is to stop deserializing untrusted data. Good stuff. Yeah. All right, I'm going to call it here. It's been a pleasure. It's been good hanging out with all you fine people. I hope you. Menz has got a rant going on. If you combine an Express app with Mongoose JS, you open vulnerable to NoSQL injection due to an option. Yeah, right. Menstrual, would you say you know more about the stack than I do? JavaScript has me going hell no. But interesting. When I'm down in Melbourne, dude, we'll have to catch up for a beer. You'll have to show me what you found. I'd be curious to see your work. Super curious. Hopefully, people got some stuff out of tonight. Hopefully, you understand not just the technique of exploiting PHP deserialization bugs, but you understand the kind of the phenomena in general. The idea that it lets you rehydrate arbitrary objects, and you can have an array of arbitrary objects. Each of those objects can have member attributes that can be arrays or can be other objects, and then those objects can have member attributes that are other objects, maybe arrays, maybe an array of objects, and you can kind of have this cascading chain of different objects and things that then, when rehydrated, and either by having a wake up function be called to kind of say, hey, you're being rehydrated, wake up and kind of set yourself up. Maybe you got to check the date and rotate some key material or something. I don't know what you put in a wake up method, or the destructor as well. When the application kind of tears itself down, destructors will be called. And regardless of language, be it Java, Python, PHP, Ruby, anything that supports deserialization, or the deserialization of things like cookies, if you know this, the secret signing key can potentially be turned into code execution through the use and the magic of pop chains. When I'm in Melbourne, first week of March, I'm heading down. That's it from me. Thank you so much for sticking around. If you've got any questions, queries, concerns in the coming days, please hit me up on Slack or Twitter, or just, I don't know, scream in the streets and I'll hear you and I'll come find you. Thanks for dropping by, and I'll catch you next time.